This is the Making Waves Mindset Show with your hosts, Richard Biase
and Dave Moskowitz. Learn from our journey as we share the ups and downs
of being your own boss. Welcome, everyone, to another fine edition of the Making Waves Mindset Show.
Yes, welcome, where we are in your face on various episodes on YouTube, Rumble, and
various
podcasts
platforms, Dave.
In your
platforms.
Platforms. I should use that. Yeah. And then we're in your ears.
Yes.
The smooth sound of Richard Biase and Dave Moskowitz.
Now with a refined microphone.
That's right. Where you get to follow our journey and make waves and change your mindset, where you get to dream bigger, make waves, and take action. If you are following us, that means you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed but still following us, make sure you click those buttons and subscribe. And if you're enjoying the show, please share it. Give us a response, give us a communication, send us an email, send us a little message on one of the platforms. And if you're not enjoying it, share it with someone who can. Yeah. Share it with someone who might need it. Share it with someone who might be in the same avenue or in the same place as you maybe want to be, or maybe they're going down a different direction as you. There's nothing wrong with sharing it.
The goal of the show for those listening and maybe first-time listeners is we want to have leading-edge conversations when it comes to your health, your wealth, your business, life, leadership, and the journey that comes with being an entrepreneur. It's your mindset. It's a mindset shift. And it's actually funny because just before the show, Dave's like, stop putting those barriers up, Richard. Get out there. But that's the premise, because we bounce off each other. We know you're learning from our experience, and we're taking you through that journey of leaving the 9-to-5, entering the business space, and talking about the ups and downs. So if there's anything that resonates with you and you like, do as Dave says, follow, share, etc. But if you want to hear something, we've had so many of you reach out going, listen, can you bring somebody on about this? Or maybe you guys can talk about that. Share that experience. DM us. Let Dave and I know what you want to hear, what you'd like to hear, or what we're missing at this point in your journey, because we're growing with an authentic crowd and all of you have been incredible. So Thank you for being a part of the journey.
Yeah.
So Dave.
It's been awesome.
It's been awesome.
It has. It's been great episodes. We've had some great people on. We're going to continue to have some more guests coming up shortly in our next few episodes. We will venture into their dreams. We will venture into their plans in life, and we will see how they got to where they are, or how they're going to get to where they want to be. And that's sort of the premise of the show, just as Richard was saying. So on that note, let's talk about where we are and
the journey.
The journey, and get back to talking how we've come from a year ago when we were discussing what we're doing with ourselves and where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll jump in and talk about the new venture that I am venturing into, the business ownership of a franchise, and talk about StretchLab. So StretchLab, as just to bring anyone who's new, is a franchise from United States, California. It began in 2017, owned by a larger company, which is the world's largest boutique fitness gym owners, and it's one of 10 brands under Exponential. And if you look up Expo on stock market, they're massive company, and they own a whole bunch of different brands, with StretchLab being one of the brands, and the rest of their some boutique fitness places. Pilates, all that different kind of stuff.
Exciting stuff. It's a big company.
Very big company. Yeah. So StretchLab, being one of the brands, decided to buy into that brand and be the first in Canada to open up a StretchLab, which we are very, very excited about. So we have ventured into that, which if you've listened to a couple of our episodes before, we've talked about the trials and tribulations of trying to find location and hire staff and get into the nitty gritty of opening up a brick and mortar, which is very new to me.
And now you have a social media. You got a new plug it out there. Let people know where they can follow your StretchLab Downtown franchise.
We officially have a name. We are StretchLab Toronto Downtown.
Beautiful.
And we will be the first in Canada. There's some more slated for 2023 to be built in Ontario, built in Vancouver, but we will be the very first in Toronto, bringing it to Toronto.
So we got to take a step back. The very first of one of the largest boutique fitness franchises in the world. You're the first in Canada. Like, we got to take a step back. Like, this is huge.
Yeah, we are the
Here in
first
Toronto.
first of StretchLab brand. There's other brands here in Toronto
course.
already. Club Pilates, BFT, Pure Bar. There's a whole bunch of other ones coming. But yeah, first of the brand StretchLab,
The
which
pressure.
yeah, it is. It is. You know what? So there is some pressure. There's some pressure from myself in relation to ensuring that we represent the brand the best way. There's some pressure from other Canadian brand owners out west. I'll plug him, Grant Billington. He's a great guy. He's been a great sounding board. He's building 3 out there, and I've met a couple of different franchise owners as well throughout the process, and they've all been great help. And one thing I would say about a franchise, and for anyone looking at purchasing a franchise, and we had some franchise people on our show talking about it. Mr. GG, he was shout out to him, Giuseppe
Grammatico.
Grammatico. So he's helped you out in that end. But when you buy into a franchise, as long as you pick a franchise that's welcoming and coming, every person that's within that larger franchise wants to give back. And that's what I found. And they've been great sounding boards. So even though we've been crossing brands and other brands within Exponential, they've all been very helpful. And I think everyone, in terms of business, when you get into the business world, which is a bit different than the corporate world, everyone's looking to help each other rather than work against each other. There's so much collaboration.
No silos.
And that's the one thing about the private business that I'm learning is everyone is eager to make money as a collaborate rather than a siloed. And maybe not everyone, but this is what I've been learning is people open their books, they open their business. It's like, who do you need? What do you need? Here's the mistakes I made. Learn from my mistakes and you don't have to make them, and you'll be very successful just like us, and let's be successful together. And through this process, I've met so many other small business owners, and we're continuously meeting small business owners in efforts to bring them business, bring us business, because I'm a strong believer that collaboration is where it's at.
Totally.
Work with your fellow people to grow each other, because there's a lot of business out there. You just need to bring it to each other to work together. So it's been fun. It's really ramping up now. We finally signed a lease.
Amazing.
For a location. Yeah. So
yes.
we are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on all the social medias. If you go to Google and type in Stretching Toronto, we're one of the first ones that show up. So StretchLab Toronto Downtown is the name of our location. We're going to be at Adelaide and Spadina. We have a location that's going to be under construction within the next month or two. And we're going to be starting to sell memberships. It's very exciting. We've gotten moving ahead with some hiring of staff, which we'll get into a bit. And the brand itself is just going to explode here in Toronto. We're excited about it. It's a new concept. The actual business.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, talk about the whole process. So
the actual portion of what we do is, so StretchLab is the largest one-on-one assisted stretching business in the world. They're expanded they have over 300 locations in the United States. They are in Australia. They are going into Mexico. They're going into the United Kingdom soon. They're now opening in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And they are taking the world by a storm. And it's not a new concept in relation to the product of stretching, because stretching has been around for over 30 years. But what it is the location is new. It's exciting. It's contemporary. It's open concept. You go in, you book a 25-minute session with someone called a flexologist, which is someone who's been trained on a specialty program that's been designed by people who've been in the stretching business for over 30 years.
Yeah.
It's been backed by doctors. You come in, you get a 25 or a 50-minute session, and you feel golden after. Really? Everyone out there needs to be stretched more. And what do people do most of the time? They sit around, their muscles get achy. Everyone tells you, if you go to the gym, the personal trainer is going to tell you, okay, go home, do the stretching routine. No one does it. If you go to physio, they give you homework to stretch. No one does it. Come to us. We are going to be your premier stretching facility, and we will stretch you out and you feel golden.
When you have your grand opening, Dave, we got to do a live on scene recording. I will be the guinea pig. I can give the 5-star review of the experience.
Yeah. You know what? And it is our business, but I've been stretched at a location in California. You feel like Jello. You really do. There is such a different feeling when someone is assisted stretching you, rather than you stretching yourself, because you get to those areas that you just can't stretch yourself, and you'll feel amazing. You'll feel, and I'm not just saying this because it's our business.
But you experienced it before.
Yeah.
Before you even were an investor.
Oh yeah,
right?
before we invested, we went for stretches, and it was amazing.
Fell in love.
So we are very excited because we've hired, we're in the midst of hiring our flexologists who have a ton of experience behind them, and they're going to receive some training from StretchLab themselves to ensure that we push the product out and ensure that people are getting the best stretches. And this is something that, whether you're into sports, whether you're just getting into sports, whether you're an office worker just sitting around a lot, or you golf, or you play tennis, or hockey, doesn't matter what you do with your life, everyone needs to stretch a little more. It'll help with your mobility. It'll help with you, your flex, you're being able to pick up things, being able to sit down longer, being able to stand longer, and it will help your movement, and you'll feel better, and you'll move better, and you'll live a lot longer. And our location, we're so excited for it because it's contemporary looking, it's open, it's airy, it'll smell nice. They have a scents that go through the location. You'll come in, you'll feel zen after, and we're really excited about bringing it. And I would say, if you live downtown or able to commute to downtown, and you have the ability to be in downtown, maybe you work downtown, you come down here, stop in and see us. We're going to be selling memberships starting in November. They're going to be the biggest discounted memberships. So you sign up and you'll be one of the founding members, and you'll have a great discount for the rest of your life with us. And once we're built out, come on down. And we're going to be doing pop-up locations around Toronto with our flexologists, and they have to provide you with a 15-minute free session. So you sign up, and we'll get into all that. And follow us on Instagram, Facebook, StretchLab Downtown, or Toronto Downtown. StretchLab Toronto Downtown. Just type it into Google, StretchLab Toronto Downtown, or Toronto Downtown Stretching. Will come up, StretchLab. And give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. Let us know you're out there. Let us know you're looking forward to it, and we'll sign you up for some free stretching.
You know what I love about this is, so you took me down there a few weeks back, and you're right off Spadina. You're in the heart of the former what they call the Fashion District, right?
Fashion District, yeah.
Beautiful historic buildings, beautiful ongoing development of completely incredible residential designs down there, and it's going to be incredible. Like, this is the first. And I think the other thing that's exciting too is I don't want our listeners to feel like we're just come join us, buy from us. Yeah. I think what we have to remember is that the purpose of the show was that Dave and I started with nothing. Yes. We left the 9 to 5. We have this entrepreneurial ambition, and now Dave is physically standing out front of his brick and mortar store, looking at something that was just a dream, that was just a thought, that was just a vision, and he took action and had the right mindset to follow through and to make this a reality. And I think that's part of the excitement, is why we want to share that with you, is go like, look what was a dream. And the other thing too is, we have been spending a lot of time talking about franchising as well. And I also don't want our listeners to go, all they do is invest in franchises. Not the case. I'll talk about me in another episode, or maybe after this year. But one of the benefits to a franchise is it is a business model that is rinse and repeat. Mm-hmm. And Dave and I understand that building wealth and diversifying our network and interests as investors doesn't rely on just one thing. It's the fact that we can fluidly move between different types of business journeys and ventures. And I'm sure Dave will vertically integrate and scale up with a similar brand or a similar business at a later date. But it's something that's there that is already bulletproof, and you need to run. So it's a strategy of, what else can I do? Well, there's already a package here and I can make it work. Then you move on to the next thing. So this show is a business for Dave and I because we value what we put out here. We don't make money on the show, but we see it as a complete passion and interest, no different than our business. So it's just something that we want to share with all of you, going, franchising has worked. And we had Kyle Andrews even come on and talk about his success after hearing one of our episodes. And it might be what you want to do, or you may own your own business that you started physically from scratch, and you want to find another challenging aspect that doesn't take you hours upon hours of trying to figure out how you're going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But that's the benefit of a franchise, is that you have a complete package with a bow on top, and you can make work for you as long as you're putting the hard work and dedication to getting it going.
And don't discount the work that you need to do for a franchise.
It's
so
a lot.
I want to tell everyone out there that,
let's talk about it.
Just because they're giving you, let me back up. Just because you're going to the store and purchasing the Lego set. And Lego is now giving you the instructions to build the Lego.
Correct.
It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to do that, within 5 minutes. You have to put in the time and energy to build the business still. And there's so many decisions that you need to make as a business owner that is not laid out in the franchise plan that will make you successful or not successful. But the biggest part of owning a franchise, and if it's one of the, I should say, if it's a franchise that's connected to working with you as a franchisee, because I've heard some horror stories that there are some franchises out there that sort of send you out to the world, but all you have to do is pay them. But if it's a franchise that's really involved with ensuring that their franchisees are successful, then they will give you a hand along the way and will work with you and with the support. So that's one thing. That's the benefit of owning a franchise that I've learned so far, is at the points that you get lost in business where you're charged with making those decisions, you always have someone to say, hey, teacher, I have my hand up. Can you please explain to me, how do I get from point A to point B? And they'll say, oh, well, this is the way we've done it. So here's the way, and this is how these locations are successful. So if you follow this success, it should be successful for you. And that's the one thing that I'm enjoying about the franchise ownership so far, is you have to put the time, you have to put the energy, you have to put the thought into it, but there's always somebody there to say to you, yes, this is the plan, and this is how you go about the plan. Sort of like if you were to have that Lego set and call up the customer service and said, hey, I'm stuck on this step. How do I get from this step to this step? They're going to take you through that process, and they're going to say, do this, do this, do this. Oh, okay, this is what it looks like. Now I understand it. Let's implement it. So you're still running, even though it's a franchise, you're still running a business. You still have to hire staff. You still have to.
You are a business owner.
You still have to get your finances in order. You still have to regulate your finances. You still have to make business decisions on what you're purchasing, even though they give you 98% of the stuff. There's still 2% of the business that let me back that up. It's not even 2%. They give you 90% of everything in terms of the plan, and there's 10% that you need to make decisions on. Yes, they're going to help you with those 10% decisions, but you still have to make those decisions, and those have financial implications. Those have long-term implications on your business, and you still have to make those decisions. Even though the franchise told me, okay, you have to find a location, it was our decision to go with this specific location, and we're signing a lease that's 10 years. So I'm making a financial decision for the next 10 years. Betting that our business is going to be making money for 10 years. And there's lots of franchises out there that go under. There's a lot of franchises out there that don't make money or do make money for a little while. So, let's fast forward our lives another 5 years down the road. we could be sitting here and saying the franchise didn't work out for me. Potentially. I don't think that way every day. I think we're going to kill it. I think we're going to be an
You're going to
amazing
crush it.
franchise.
Yeah.
I'm motivated to make sure that this is a brand that's going to grow here in Toronto and grow in Ontario and grow in Canada. So that's our goal. And that's the goal you have to keep in mind moving forward. But owning a franchise is a very viable way of getting into business and ensuring that you don't have to sit here and make up everything. The amount of things that the franchise provides us, like for example, let's say I decided I'm going to open up a one-on-one assisted stretching facility and not name it StretchLab. Name it Dave's Stretching Facility. First of all, I have to find a location. Okay, so I found a location. Then I have to develop the marketing plan. I have to develop the computer systems. I have to develop the look. So I have to hire interior designers. I have to develop the programming. I have to develop the training for people. The the design of the logo. There's so many things that you have to then hire and put into place for starting Dave's stretching facility that StretchLab has already developed. And because they've been around for a long time, they've tested things out in the market in the United States, not in Canada, but that's fine because we have a similar market here. But they've tested things out and they've made mistakes, and you don't have to make those mistakes. Whereas if you run it as Dave's stretching facility, I have to then endure those mistakes and potentially financial consequences from them.
So, Dave, part of our journey is sharing ups and downs. What would you say, two things? What would you say have been the biggest risks that you have had to navigate so our listeners and followers can understand these high level things that you're having to make critical decisions on? And what are the challenges, risks and challenges that you might be able to share with people to go, listen, it's not all gummy bears and rainbows. Here are the things that we really had to focus on, and here are things that were super challenging, and we made it through it because we took baby steps, etc.
That's right. Yeah. So the first thing is, if it's brick and mortar, you have to find a location. It's taken us since February of this year to find a location. So the biggest financial implication besides salaries for your employees is going to be your rent, right? Or your mortgage or whatever, if you end up buying a place or renting, leasing, right? One or the other. But so it's a big financial implication, and depending on how many years you sign on. So most businesses these days are signing either a 5 or a 10-year lease. We decided to go with a 10-year lease. It matches up with our financing. So we get financing for some stuff here in Canada, which is pretty good. So we're able to finance a portion of the business, and it's a 10-year finance. So it lines up with our financing. So we decided to make a decision based on that. And that's a financial implication. Very scary, because you are personally signing on, even though it's through the business, you're personally taking on liability for the next 10 years of X amount of dollars a month.
Yeah.
And your business has to support that.
Yeah.
If your business doesn't support that, it's on you as a person. So that's scary, very scary. But you have to have faith in the business model, and the business model is going to succeed. So you have to have faith in that. So you take that risk.
Yeah.
But finding that location, I tell you, was very. At times, it was. I had to take a step back because I was taking it personal that locations weren't dealing with us as a new business here in Toronto. Being the first has its benefits, and being the first also has its downfalls. If you choose a franchise and it is your first brick and mortar you've ever built, and it's the first business you ever built. So for those of you who are getting out of the 9 to 5, going into business for the very first time, you do choose a franchise or a business, and you go to a landlord and you say, we want to open a business in your location. If it's your first ever and you don't have a track record of business, doesn't matter if it's a McDonald's, doesn't matter if it's of what it is, but being the first, you're not going to get treated like you're a McDonald's. You're not going to get treated like you're
hesitation.
Because you're a brand new business owner. They're going to look at you as a business and see what you've done in your past. And you could have been in the corporate world for 25, 30 years and had a great record of employment and great responsibility under you. When it comes to business, landlords are just looking at the brass tacks of, are you going to bring money into our location securely for the next X amount of years that you sign a lease? And are you going to, or are you going to be in bankrupt and I'm going to have to find a new tenant? And I'm not going to make the money that we're needing to come in for this commercial location. So those are the kind of decisions you need to make in relation to location. So you need to find a location. A, it's got to be within your budget. B, it's got to be a location that's fitting for the product that you're pushing out. So the one thing about being with a franchise that we've enjoyed is I'm able to run this locations that we were looking at through the franchise and say, is this a viable location based on demographic, based on marketing, based on all that kind of stuff. And then them saying, giving me the feedback, not saying, yes, go with this location, but giving me the information about the location. So if it was Dave's one-on-one stretching facility, I would have to find that out, right? So those are the kind of benefits, but it's very scary, to answer your question. It's very scary going to make those exact decisions on, signing a lease for 10 years and making that financial implication against yourself. I've lost track of what I was the other point you were asking.
So we talked about some of the biggest risks, and I would also add, what were some of the hurdles that, because you had the challenges of like, holy smokes, this is crazy, I got to take things baby step by baby step. But then it's like, okay, what are the biggest hurdles? But we navigated through them and we made it work.
Yeah. I would say, and I think I touched on that a bit, some of the biggest hurdles were being that new business owner, going to a landlord and saying to them, we want to open up a business. And, in my mind, I went in this saying, we've signed on with the biggest boutique fitness owners, gym owners in the world, Exponential, and it's one of their brands. So we have buying power. Like signing on with Exponential, for those that are listening, is like signing on with McDonald's. It's the largest fast food chain in the world, right? And going into location, you have the false hope of having that buying power. But then the reality is, we are not Exponential. We are blah, 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 Ontario Incorporated business. And we are going in there saying, give us a lease. And they're looking at us saying, okay, we'll give you a lease. What have you done before? Yeah. Well, we've done nothing, but we're representing StretchLab, which is a brand of Exponential, which is a multi-billion-dollar company. Well, that's nice, but you're not them. Yeah. You are numbered Inc., Ontario Inc., and you've done nothing before. So it was a reality check in terms of that. It was like, okay, fine. Yeah, you're right. I don't, but our finances are in order and we have a business plan and everything. And they're like, yeah, it's awesome. But we still don't trust you. So we can't. You have no proven track record. Yeah. Okay, but hold on a second. I was in law enforcement for 27 years. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Don't care. Yeah. Are you going to bring money? And that was some of the hurdles that we had to jump over. So financially, you have to make some decisions.
I'll add in there, Dave, while we're on the topic of landlords. So, like most of you know, we invest in real estate, right? And people don't understand. I think the media makes it very complicated. They think landlords are evil, greedy people. And, you have to understand that people who own properties are taking risks that 99.9% of the population is unwilling to do.
That's right.
And not only they're unwilling to do it, they are unwilling to put the capital down to even make it happen, or not in a position to do it because they have lived a life or have made decisions that have led them down the path where they can't do it. And this risk comes at the expense of everything Dave just said. It goes the other way now for the lenders, for the banks. They all want to go, that's great, but can you pay for those properties when Dave's business doesn't pay the rent and people, or the lease? And so people fail to understand that. And it's always interesting to have these conversations. I ran into an old friend recently and she was like, my landlord kicked me out. I've been there for 12 years and blah, 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 blah. And, and they were moving in and, and she was kind of questioning if it was a legitimate position. I said, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
Like decisions need to be made. Rent does increase. But they want to be sure that whatever decision is made, maybe it was for renovation. I think there was some type of reconstruction or something taking place. I get it. But there's a greater weight on that landlord to ensure the property cash flows so that the lenders can be paid. So Dave can remain in there with the lights on and have a roof over his head to keep him dry in the rain and sleet and snow. Yeah. That's just the other side of the coin I want to throw out there because people have done a great job of slamming us landlords
Yeah,
for
yeah,
evil
and
people.
no, and you know what, and I'm sure there are some but well, the opposite of that
For
is I'm
sure.
sure there are landlords out there
Oh,
who are some,
there are
and I'm
some
sure
greasy people. Yeah.
I'm sure there's some
Yeah.
landlords out there
Yeah.
who um just probably have the air of arrogance and don't care and
Yeah.
are very cold-hearted.
Yeah.
But I do understand that they're taking on a liability.
Yes.
I do understand their business is taking on a liability.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that as a business owner, that they're making a business decision as
Yeah.
well. And it's
They
not
want to
always,
invest in you. Like
yeah, it's
they want you to be there instead of continuing a vacant unit. They're like, we
right.
really want Dave in. We really
Yeah,
want this company in here. However, can you meet our benchmark to ensure that we can trust and
right,
rely on you to be in there and be a good fit for our existing
right.
clientels? And
Yeah,
what's it? Because nobody wants another head shop or another weed
right.
shop and another salon. Like they're just
Yeah.
a
And
dime a
what
dozen in Canada.
compounds that is your track history.
Yes,
If you
exactly.
don't have a track history, then they have nothing to base it on. They just have
Yeah.
to base it on the feel of what your plan is going ahead. So that's some of the hurdles that we had to go through to find this location, get this location, and it was a process that is involving lawyers. It's a process that involves brokers, real estate brokers. It's a process that involves time.
Moving parts.
I can't. The one thing that bothers me the most about this is the time it takes to actually push things through. Sometimes, from what I've told, is every situation is different as it relates to time it takes. So the
Yeah.
brokers are telling me it all depends on if it's an independent owner or if it's a corporation.
Yeah.
And there's various levels of that, right? So there's
Yeah.
corporations who are really, really big, and there's corporations who are just medium, and there's small corporations, and then there's landlords who are really large, and there's landlords who are so independent that they just own that one building.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a mixed bag out there. So because it's a mixed bag, you never know how long it's going to take.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one thing that's sort of been drilling me in the head, is you have to make certain business decisions as it relates to your business, even though you haven't signed a lease yet.
Yeah.
And that's scary. And that's one of the biggest, scariest things I made over the last month, was we invested money into the business without having an actual signed lease.
That's the risk. That's the risk.
That's the risk. And it's financial risk, but not even that. Like I've to get into hiring employees, I've had to hire employees without actually signing the lease. We didn't, today is October 2nd. We signed the lease yesterday, October 1st.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So we have, even though we've been business-wise, we've actually dedicated the business to this location. The actual lease itself and the payment for the first and last month, stuff like that, wasn't made till Saturday, October 1st.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
which is nuts, right? Because you're making, like, I've had to get insurance, I've had to get an HR company to do our employee handbooks and all that kind of stuff. So I'm paying for that. I had to get a phone number. We've had a phone number for a month now without a location. I've had to get social media up that was advertising the location, stuff like this, before.
And you're paying employees to get
Yeah,
going without the revenue stream coming in, right?
right. And that's the thing. So there's a lot of scary things for business, but this is how business goes, and this is what I'm learning. So when it comes to us opening StretchLab number 2, StretchLab number 3, 4, 5,
There we go. I like that.
we will know roughly what it's going to take to do that, and have a better idea now that we've done one. And I'm sure between now and our grand opening, as Grant out in Vancouver says, we'll be punched in the face a couple times. I love that, because it's such a realistic
So true.
example of getting downfalls in business, is being punched in the face. Everyone can picture, you're being punched in the face. It's not going to kill you, but it'll hurt. And so there's a whole
We'll have to share some of my punches. It's been it's been draining soon. Next recording, Dave. We can't all put all the juicy details in one episode. We got to hold the suspense for everyone.
But besides that, it's been fun. It really has. I've learned a ton. I'm more educated now. I've learned terms, and I was saying the other day, I've learned a term, real estate terms that I never knew before. I've learned business terms that I've never known before, words that I had to look up in the dictionary, just things like the education value of opening up a business is immense. But now I have that knowledge, which is worth $1 million.
Because you dreamt bigger, you made waves, freaking splashed the pond around, and then you took action on it. And this is why, it's been so incredible to work with you, partner with you, have a friendship with you to share in our journeys and tell the world, like, listen, look at what we're doing. You can do it. Yep. You can do it.
Definitely.
It's been fun. Well, everyone, that concludes our episode. Dave, where can our listeners, again, let's remind them, where can we find your new location and where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, David A. Moskowitz. I apologize to anyone who does follow me there that I haven't posted stuff for a while, but I will get back to that eventually. LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn. Connect with me there. Our new location is going to be at 410 Adelaide Street West, Adelaide and Spadina, StretchLab Toronto Downtown. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on the internet, or come down to one of our pop-ups. Just keep an eye on Instagram and Facebook. We'll post that, and we will have some great content that's coming out. Other than that, where can we find you?
The same. LinkedIn and Instagram, Richard Biase. And if you do reach out, like, we've noticed some incredible followings on all the platforms and stuff, just let us know, hey, we heard you on the Making Waves Mindset show, or we followed you on Instagram or something. Just let us know where that connection was. I'm very curious. I'm getting a lot of people even from the US reaching out, which has been wicked, because there's people who also want to do some real estate stuff. And I'm like, where do the opportunities take us? So let us know. Until next time, everyone, continue to dream bigger, make waves, and take action in life. We'll talk to you on our next episode.
Have a great day.